Okay, can you guys see this? Introducing new requirements for custom audiences. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So custom audience targeting. We're gonna there have been some changes associated with custom audience custom audience targeting. So this was published by Facebook Business, which obviously is the main indicator that things are actually changing. They're going to work this way. So showing people the origin of audience information starting July 2nd will require advertisers to specify the origin of audience's information when a business uploads a new audience. So this will be on the backside. It'll be in context with custom audiences when you're uploading a customer file. And in that process, when you're uploading like an email list, for instance, you'll just have to select the origin. So for instance, when we are when we are uploading a file, for instance, like with so we have a company, Fluid Freight, that we're doing work for right now. She will send us, or Leon he will be sending us the email list. Basically what we can see is we can add this customers and partners. Advertisers collect information directly from their customers, and it was also sourced from their partners. So he is the one that collected all of this. And then basically in the drop-down menu, when they actually look at the advertisement, said they can see why they're seeing it. So in here it'll say, able to reach you because your email was on a customer list collected by Jasper's Market and its partners, and you've been provided them your contact information off of Facebook. So that's one aspect of that, right? So if there's any questions about that, pretty self-explanatory. We just need to identify that when we're uploading an email list. The second part of that is audience sharing requirements starting July 2nd. So we're strengthening the requirements with when our advertisers share custom audiences from a customer file, such as within an advertising agency, in case both parties need to establish the audience sharing relationship through Business Manager. So inside of Business Manager, you can actually share audiences across each. So let me open up Business Manager. As a matter of fact, I think I have it open here somewhere already. So inside of here, if you were to go into inside of all tools, you go into audiences. I can share audiences across platforms with other Facebook pages and ad accounts inside of that so that we can pull the same type of data. So for instance, if we're running a gym and we have other gyms that we're potentially running against, we can share that the dynamics or the demographics specifically of one audience with another gym, as long as both of those people have suggested or recommended or said that that was okay. Now, we're not sending email lists from one gym to the next. We're just sharing the geographic information from one to the next. So let me show you real quick how that happens.
Hey, Ryan, could you record this? This is really helpful.
Yep, it is. It's being recorded.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Yep. Okay, so hopefully this will pull up a little quicker. So what you can do once it brings up the audience, so let's just go, for instance, pull up an ad account. So if I want to share my audiences, strategic social marketing audiences, to Coulter's Simple Meets Adventure platform so that he has the ability to communicate and connect with business owners and leverage some of our audiences to share inside of, or to share concepts with his audience, then we can definitely cross-share that. This lever come up, I'll show you. You basically click a button and then you select to share it. So here we go.
Lori, this would be a good thing to be using for the 2 theaters in Rexburg because they do have a little bit of a different reach, but one has a lot more engagement than the other.
Yep.
So I selected on SSP video views and I just want to share it.
Kyle, this can also probably be used for CBI and Prince's audiences also.
Okay, sounds good. For the last one that you sent me in the email, right?
Yeah, we can talk about that one too because they share. Well, yeah, we'll talk about that separate, but this will be something we can use for them.
So I selected a specific audience, and what I'm doing is I'm sending the targeting and insights directly from that data that's been driven, and I'm going to share that with Simple Meets Adventure. And now that's been shared, I can go look and see if the audience is shared by this specific account, and it'll indicate that, and it'll probably indicate who exactly I shared it with. So yeah, cross-sharing these audiences is a good thing. So it'll say shared with one account.
So Ryan, I'm going to ask a quick question. Is this something that we can pull audiences from, for example, BBSI or from our event and share it with BBSI?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so if we have an audience of people that are engaging in content, and again, you're not sharing the actual list of people, you're sharing the insights, targeting and insights with each other, right? So if I go back again to my recent audiences here on Strategic Social that I'm running, or I can look at audiences, inactive ad sets, audiences, or I can select all audiences, right? So if I have all audiences here and I want to share BBSI information, or even construction-based information with another, like with Rockwell at some point, right? We could potentially do that. Or if we have, we have an audience of people that are interested in Facebook likes, right? And we know exactly what's happening. Or North Star, if we have an audience there, we can share insights. Or like another solar company, Gravity Pictures. Some of these audiences that are already created and generated, we can run ads against and share the lists across the board. And then some of these, where you have like a customer list, then this is where we would have to go in and accept the terms of service and just say I accept. So now it's just identifying and dictating that we recognize the list that's been uploaded and we're willing to stay within the terms and conditions associated with those. So yes, for events, for instance, if we go in and we look at like, something in saved audiences, SSP videos, or whatever, we can run ads against that to our other ad account, which obviously if we're running ads inside of our own account, then we don't need to share the audience because we can just pull a custom audience when we build the actual ad set. Now, let me ask you this question. Have you, many times when you're actually creating the ad sets, are you guys normally going in and creating the ad sets and just identifying geographically the custom audience? Or are you adding in a custom audience? Or are you starting directly from the asset library to create your ads from the actual audiences? How have you been doing it in the past?
I start by creating a campaign, then I create the ad set. That's where I create the audience. And there I'll either create a custom audience, or if we're just starting out, I'll do it demographically and by age and by interests and behaviors and those kinds of things.
Okay. How often are we leveraging lookalike audiences based on previously run ads to be that custom audience?
I've actually done lookalike audiences, not very much, but I have done it a few times, a handful. And then I've also usually run my audiences the same way Laura explained it.
So one thing to take into consideration is conversion rates increase dramatically when you're using lookalike audiences versus just a general interest and behavior audience.
Good to know.
So if you're, for instance, with, Lori, I know you're running ads for Mrs. Powell's. Inside of Mrs. Powell's, what you can do is you can ask her for her email list, and then you can upload her email list and create a lookalike audience. Because what happens when we're just triggering insights and behaviors inside of the ad product itself, when we create the ad inside of the audience portion, it's more generalized versus if you take an audience of people that have engaged, that have hit their website, that we have pixels placed. Do we have pixels placed on Mrs. Powell's website currently?
We don't have a website for her. We're still working on that.
So she doesn't have any sort of an online web presence at all?
Not right now. She does own the domain Mrs. Powell's Bakery, but she's having a hard time with the people who are already working with her. So we're trying to transfer the website information to us so we can work on it.
Okay. Yeah, so it's just a vast majority. I mean, if you look, what's kind of interesting is the Facebook page, because of what we're doing with their Facebook page, it's the #1 listing in Idaho Falls. But so Kyle, for instance, with Lulu Bella, what we can do is we can upload the email list. If she has an email list, we can upload the email list inside of here, build a custom audience, and then instead of trying to run ads based on geographic location or interest and behaviors, we can create a lookalike audience of those people in certain geographic locations so that their buying behaviors and patterns are similar in nature, and then we can get higher conversions at a lower cost per conversion.
That'd be really nice.
Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, I won't be over Lulu Bella though. I think Lori's over Lulu Bella. But yeah, that's
right,
really.
But that would be that. Just in concept, that would be how we best execute with lookalike audiences. So I highly suggest, for instance, as we continue to run ads for Ashley Home Store, right? We have these custom audiences that we probably should share. As we're making this transition, we probably should share those over to Strategic Social just in case we lose access to the actual ad account. And then we can retain the actual demographic information and create lookalike audiences based on engagements and things of that nature.
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah.
Is the only way to create lookalike audiences is through an email list?
No, you can create lookalike audiences based on video views.
Okay, so it's kind of like custom audiences.
It's yeah. So basically what I would do is I would go like this and I would say, I want to create a lookalike audience from this specific audience size. Let me see what it's doing here. Hold on. So what I would do is I would just choose from an audience. So if I go like 25% video view, and I want to just go Idaho Falls only. So let's just go. See what it says here, browse.
And this allows you to use like audiences from different accounts, right? So for example, Chelsea mentioned me using Paramount and Teton, kind of crossing those audiences. It allows me to do that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay.
So I don't want to do North America. Basically what I do is I want to do so United States here. Right, so now I've created a 1% lookalike audience. And then if I want to go additional options, so it shows me kind of the results. So you could have, if it's a 1% lookalike audience, it's about 2.2 million people. If it's 2%, it's 4 point. But then what you do is you create the audience, you create the lookalike audience. And then what you do from this lookalike audience is you basically upload that lookalike audience as your custom audience, and then you put a geographic boundary around it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Cool. Yeah, I'll play with that and see how I can use it, because that's awesome. It's really powerful.
Yeah. Let me look and see if there's anything else specifically on that.
Ryan, where are you going to be posting this recorded video?
Normally what I've been doing is uploading it to YouTube and then I'll post it inside the Facebook ads portion of Basecamp.
Okay, fantastic. Because I'll definitely want to revisit this.
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah.
It just spaced my mind. Yeah, I'll have to ask it later when I remember.
Okay. So that was based on, and Lori, I appreciate you asking the question, because I think you sent me an email on this a few weeks ago or last week of, can we review this in our actual training portal? So good insights there. Let's see. So again, lookalike audiences, and then what you can basically do is you select this. Once the updated audience is updated, you select like a 1% audience like this. And then from there, you can create the ad set. And again, it's not letting me because it's updating the audience currently, but you can create the ad set from there. Now, the other thing have we talked, I know we talked a little bit about audience overlap in the past. Do you have any questions specifically about audience overlap?
I did remember my question, and it's about audiences. What's a healthy audience size? Remind me.
Well, it depends on the geographic location, right? I mean, normally, if it's a national-based campaign, people typically try to have at least 1 million people or more. But where we have a geographic location of maybe 250,000 users of Facebook, that's probably a good starting point for an audience. And then we can narrow that down based on the engagements that are happening, right? Thinking about it in terms of the funnel, we also want to take and create audiences in a similar fashion where we start with more of a broad audience. We leverage Facebook video content. And then as you can see here, right, and I don't know if we've leveraged this at all, but you can see here that we have these additional video view audiences. And I think Miriam has been able to leverage this, but we have these video view audiences. And as a result, she's been running ads against these smaller subsets of custom created audiences. So, and a lot of times, quite honestly, your lookalike audiences are going to be best established from the beginning of the funnel. So you take website traffic, you know, if there's a website, you make sure we have the pixel placed. We can pull data from that pixel for the previous 30 to 60 to 90 days. And then once we have that 90-day data from people that have been on the site, then we can create that lookalike audience and then further geographically locate that inside of the actual ad product itself.
Okay. Thank you.
But again, this gives us more insights, obviously, about the number of people that have come traffic-wise, page engagements, video views of people that have actually come to the site. Now, one thing that I highly suggest inside of these custom audiences when you are building this, for instance, from a video view perspective, that you go in and update this. So the last time it was updated was 6/21, because there's additional videos that have been placed since 6/21. I can go in and edit the audiences. And I can make sure that inside of here, I have additional audiences, right? Additional videos that we can add to this. Now, if I go into, again, Ashley Home Store. So there's my page. There have been additional sales that have happened since that. So you've got like the Feel Good Fridays that they're posting on their page. You know, some of this other content, we just want to make sure that the data from this stuff has also been uploaded inside of there. So I can actually add the rest of these to build that custom audience to increase the audience size. Does that make sense? So make sure that it's always consistently, you know, growing that audience should automatically be consistently growing over that 180-day period. But we need to make sure that you're adding the rest of the videos, the new videos that have been added to that.
So you also mentioned questions we might have about or overlapping audiences.
Yeah.
So there's things that are kind of obvious, like 25 miles from Idaho Falls and 25 miles from Rexburg, and that's going to overlap unless we, narrow that area.
Yeah. So one thing, when we're talking about overlapping audiences, it does take into consider geographic locations, but mainly the purpose for overlapping audiences, or the thing you need to consider, is that if you have two ad sets that are running against different demographics, different audiences, for instance, and there's more than about a 70% overlap, or even a 60 or 50% overlap, you want to be about 25 to 30% overlap. But if you're over like a 25 to a 30% overlap, then what's going to happen inside of that actual ad set is it's going to deliver lower, because you have two ads that are running at an overlapped audience, and as a result, Facebook is identifying that as spam.
Got it.
So try to leverage a similar audience if you're running ad sets, multiple ad sets across different audiences, and that's where you want to split test those audiences, right? So you may have, instead of running an audience size, for instance, inside of here, that is, let me bring up strategic social here again. So instead of running audiences, let me just show you here really quickly. Instead of running audiences, two different defined audiences against the same ad set, which you can do, as long as the audience overlap isn't extremely high, you can run the same ad set at two different audiences. So for instance, if you have Pocatello and Idaho Falls in a 25-mile radius, there's not going to be as much overlap, so you can run two segmented ad sets directly at those. But if you're trying to capture inside of your geographic location the whole southern Idaho region, then what's going to happen is your ad sets are going to overlap, and the performance of your ads are going to diminish significantly as a result of that.
Okay, and does that apply to interests and behaviors, all those kinds of things? For example, if we select parents and then we select soccer moms, those may overlap.
Correct.
Okay, and where does it tell us what percentage is overlapping?
So basically what you look at is so let's just take two Idaho Falls based. Let me look here and see if we have. I don't know if we have one geographically located here, but let's just take, for instance, if I'm running, I want a larger audience size. Hold on a second. So I go Facebook likes, for instance, and SSP videos, 25% video view audience. I can just click show audience overlap. I need a larger subset. See what I can find here real quick. Okay, so if we're doing Facebook likes, for instance, Gravity Pictures, and this Social Media Summit, which is the audience that we ran traffic against last time. Let's look and see what it says here. So you can see here the difference is only a 1% overlap, so you can definitely leverage those two. Does that make sense? So comparing the audiences, you have this audience of 100,000 people and this audience of 52,000 people based on business interests versus Social Media Summit.
Okay, got it.
You could leverage both of those differently, but if I'm taking, let's just do this. Let's go back into.
So is there a conflict of interest if we start sharing audiences, for example, between Majestic Auto Body and Page Insurance?
I don't anticipate there would be, because again, you're not sharing actual data, you're sharing the insights and targeting.
Well, and they're different services. They're not
Right.
like
They're
conflicting.
complementary services. Now, if you're doing like a Dan's Collision and a Majestic Auto Body, I think there would be a conflict of interest there.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I think in that context, you can share audiences across those, especially since we're running the ad sets for both inside of SSP, correct?
We are, and they're actually just down the street from one another.
Yeah.
So as far as demographics, as far as geo demographics, they're in the same area.
Yeah, and you may just want to test those audiences to make sure they're congruent in nature, right? And
Yeah.
do that audience overlap analysis.
Okay.
So like for instance, okay, so if we have like Idaho Falls North audience here, and we have Twin Falls to Idaho Falls, we can again check the audience overlap and see what that looks like. So see, this is a 68% audience. So if you're running ads Idaho Falls North and Twin Falls to Idaho Falls, then what's going to happen is your delivery is going to be a lot less, because there's a 68% audience. Now, if we just take another one, so if we compare it to a kind of a general to mid-worth comparison.
Hey, Ryan?
Yeah.
So when we're initially creating an audience, like if we're initially creating an audience, then we won't be able to look at it like this, right? Because this is
Correct.
under lookalike audiences.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so we kind of just have to take some time to see how things fall before we can see this data.
Yeah, and the good thing about this process, obviously, is if you go into, for instance, with give me another one of your clients that you're running ads for, Lori.
BBSI.
So for BBSI, right, we're running that directly from their account. So let me look at it really quick. Actually, it's under what, Jeremy?
Jeremy.
Yes.
Also, would like Battle Axe and Mountain West Rentals, those would be complementary audiences as well, because one offers the services or one offers product.
That's right. Not sure why I'm not pulling up Jeremy Hicks's stuff here. Or Mountain West. Anyway, yeah, so play around with these audiences, and if you don't have access to a certain ad account that you need access to so that you can cross-compare some of those audiences and share those audiences internally, then let me know or let Chelsea know, and we'll make sure that they're both available for that.
Just checking, should we all have access to all accounts simply so we can take over others if we need to, or if there's an emergency and something needs to be done and only a few people are available? Like, just that kind of redundancy would be helpful, in my opinion.
I don't think on the onset we necessarily need to. We can definitely add and remove people as we need to. The tricky part comes in just protecting the proprietary nature of the ads that are being run. For the client, not necessarily internally, obviously, because we're happy to share information and insights collectively, but I don't think it's necessary per se. I do think one thing that we should probably get better at, and I know we're right on time, so we'll close here with this thought. One thing we need to make sure we get better at is really doing a deep dive analysis in our client accounts, on our own, right? We have data box that's reporting stuff, but there's so many different metrics that identify the success of campaigns from a KPI perspective. And in our next training, that's what I think we need to review. So I'll go over that in more depth, but that'll be some more insights that we need to make sure we're sharing across all of our, across all the ad reps that are a part of what we're doing.
Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Okay, all right, guys, thank you for being on today, and we'll be in touch again very soon. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.